Okay, where do facts come from? After all, we've talked about facts. We haven't talked about where they come from. Well, here's some facts. More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Who were these doctors? All right? You see this all the time.
Who counted them?
Who counted them? Who were they? Here's another one. 9 out of 10 dentists can't be wrong with whatever Supreme Clean Whitening toothpaste. Who were those dentists? People generate facts. And you've got to ask who the people are, and expertise counts. Now, I'm the last person who will say that any expert is 100% always right. I have made many mistakes in my life. I give lectures on the mistakes I've made in my science to students and show them how I learn from my mistakes. I publish mistakes, for pity's sakes, and then I correct them afterwards. Fortunately, not a whole lot, okay? But expertise counts. And here's the issue. Facts come from experts in their discipline and legitimate experts. And it's up to the public, unfortunately, to try to figure out who's legitimate and who isn't. But it's not that difficult to find out because you have Google, which I once called God, because you can find anything on Google. Here's an example. You have 2 Nobel laureates here. You have Hawkins, who's a brilliant, no, I don't think he has a Nobel yet. He'll get it before he dies, I hope. And then you have Galbraith, who's the economist. They're both extraordinarily difficult people. But to say they're the same with their expertise is false equivalency. And that's the technical term. The press always, in order to make a story, you get one person who's really an expert, and you get some clown, on the other side, who may be an expert in something else, and because they both have doctorates, they're considered the same. And I can't tell you how many debates I had on fracking with people who knew nothing about water, but who had degrees, were at Cornell, were at other institutions, Stanford, and we were debating. It's like me debating my rabbi over Talmudic things. I don't know Talmud like he does. Why would he ask me? You know? But yet that's what the public now expects. Point, counterpoint. It used to be if some facts came out, some big earthquake or something, I don't care what it is, and the news media saw it and some crackpot came out and said that's wrong, they just would ignore the crackpot. But now the crackpot is embraced because it makes the story. You've got a point, counterpoint, and you're given equivalent cells. Yeah. What's the expression? If it bleeds, it leads. You know, and that is a major social problem. It's a social problem. It's not a scientific problem. So you have to always ask 4 questions. Manishtana. Happiness is an in-joke with friends. Okay, I'll tell you what it is. Manishtana are the 4 questions that are asked at Jewish homes at Passover. Why is this night different from all other nights? It's also a great joke associated with it, but I won't say it now. So what I would say, if you want to know where the facts came from and test the person or the source, I have 4 questions. Where do the facts come from? Look for serious expertise. You can find that out on the web. See if the person has a degree in what they claim to be talking about. See if they had any papers published. You don't have to be an expert and read all the papers, but see where they come from. Tony Agraffia, I know he's not here to defend himself, was a major opponent of fracking. I debated him many times. His expertise, seriously, is in plane design, wing designs of plane. If Tony Agraffia said, don't fly in the 747 because the plane's wing is going to fall off, I would not fly in that plane. He's a genius at that. He has a bachelor's degree in geologic engineering, and then he started parading himself as the world's greatest expert on fracking. Another guy in fracking was an incredible biologist. He was the one who actually devised the Journal of Ecology, the chief editor. He knew nothing about groundwater, and he was out there talking about it. But the public never asked of who had serious expertise. You know, if they wanted, I could give them an opponent to fracking who had serious expertise, who really did, and then we could have had a really good discussion instead of my trying to dispense with what we call fake facts that I'll be talking about in a minute. I'm not going to get into fracking very much. Now, the next question. If they say there's something harmful as a relative scale, 3 times, 10 times, 100 times worse, you ask, what was it before then? And you do a compare and contrast to see if it's really meaningful to you. Some people, anything might be meaningful, but other people might say, no, if it's less than 1%, I'm not worried about it. Given the risk that I take in life and everything. Oops, I forgot the other two. And then what science supports a correlation? If someone says something correlates, what is the science that says the correlation is meaningful? Not just that it's statistically significant. I hate that. If you were to read medical journals, and they say eating this shows a statistical increase compared to random. You look at it, it's so tiny, it's meaningless. And then everyone gets all upset. Should I drink coffee? Should I not drink coffee? Should I drink red wine? Should I not drink red wine? Should I have this? And usually the actual difference is so tiny and so insignificant, but yet they're looking for it, and of course the press picks up on it. Finally, if someone says, based on this study, this is what I conclude, you say, well, you've collected this much data. That's out of how much other data could you collect? In other words, if you have a sample of 100 people, okay, what if you had a sample of 1,000? Or what if you have a sample of 10,000? How would the results change? You saw that even flipping a coin. The more you sample, the greater the chance you're going to get reality. And a lot of bad science has very small sample numbers. And so there's a lot of chance that it could go one way or the other and not get to reality. Those are the 4 questions you should ask of anybody who throws some data at you or some opinion. Okay, so these are the real facts. What are fake facts and alternative facts? Alternative facts, coined by Kellyanne Conway, counselor to the president. There she is. She's still talking. I heard her yesterday. This is information based on desire, despite public evidence to the contrary. Okay, so there are facts out there, but there's desire to spin the facts a certain way and make them alternative facts. So there usually are some facts, but not the whole story. And the classic one, of course, are the inaugurations. Okay, that's President Trump on the left, and that's President Obama. These are images taken from the same location by the National Park Service, and they were pretty dumb, actually, President Trump's group, because had they gone and taken one of those little squares in the upper part of the left-hand diagram, which is packed with people, and compared it to the same square over here, they would have been identical. Yeah. So they weren't very subtle about their alternative facts. Or they could have taken a different image to show the same, but they wound up with this, and obviously they're wrong. And there are no alternative facts. The fact is that he had less people show up than President Obama, right? But they wanted to spin it because they wanted to believe there were more. A fake fact is information that's gathered, designed to specifically deceive people. Now, one could argue that alternative facts are also pulled together to deceive people too. But at least there's some hard data there. Fake facts, there's no data at all. It's made up, make-believe, the Wizard of Oz. And I see a lot of that in the political arena now. People just talking, I'm this, and there's no data at all. Those are fake facts. They're easy to get rid of. Now, with the alternative facts, there's known as cherry-picking. And cherry-picking here, the wrong side of history is cherry-picking facts to suit opinions. You see this all along. There's always different pundits on one side or the other, and they pick pieces of data. In the climate story, there's a lot of cherry-picking of data that they say shows that climate isn't changing and so forth. They don't look at the whole array. It's the coin toss. I'm only going to look at 10 flips as opposed to 1,000. And so cherry-picking is alternative facts, usually. And fake facts are outright lying. They're lies. Cold, bold-faced lies. Okay. We can take a little break here.